Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and I'm joined by some special guests who you've seen before. What do you call yourselves again? C and J, or J and C? Like, what do you call yourselves?
J and C would be just Cara, but then it would also be both of us.
Yeah,
right?
which is pretty adorable.
Yeah.
And gross, but
yeah, Cara,
adorable
Jason.
and gross. I like that.
Yep. C and J, I guess. Yeah.
Like a cat puking.
Okay.
Like that video of the cat going. Anyway.
So the movie we're reviewing is the 2022 horror comedy, The Menu, which was actually my favorite film of 2022. I actually did a video at the beginning of this year listing off like my top 15 favorite films to come out last year, and this was number 1 on my list.
All right.
So the plot of The Menu is it follows a group of foodies and food critics and rich elites who are invited to this exclusive restaurant on an island privately owned by a world-renowned chef named Julian Slowik. And as the movie goes on, it becomes clear that Slowik runs his kitchen basically like a cult, and he ends up giving his guests way more than they bargained for, and it becomes clear that none of them can leave. The film was directed by Mylod. I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name right. And it stars Ralph Fiennes as Julian Slowik, Anya Taylor-Joy as Margot, who ends up being the main protagonist of the film, Nicholas Hoult as Tyler, and John Leguizamo as a movie star whose career is on a downward slope. Now, be warned, there will be spoilers in this review. So, what did you boys and girls think of The Menu?
Definitely good. Memorable. I mean, it wasn't. This is, I think, the third time I've seen it, and it hasn't been boring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like saw it with you, saw it with Cara, and then now we're watching it here. Mm-hmm. And definitely remember the first time we went. Like, you didn't tell me anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't look anything up. I didn't know it was horror comedy, and I was like, it's a little funny. This is weird. But then it's like it was a completely different tone of a movie.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that it was like purposefully a comedy aspect. You know?
Mm-hmm. It's a fun. That was a fun element to it. I didn't expect that either. So I expected. This is why we have to abandon expectations, because I thought it was like going to be cheesy schlock, and I thought it was going to be something along the lines of "You're on the menu tonight," but it fortunately wasn't in the way I expected. It was classy, and it was a classy film, classy music, and all very high scale, but it was also making fun of that. The pretentious music, the shots, the close-ups, and it was great. It was very aware of itself.
Mm-hmm. I think I also
expected
that it was going to be like a cannibalism thing at first too.
Mm-hmm.
But
you expect that with The Menu or something like.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think it was going to be something along those lines. What I like about it is, I definitely think there are deeper themes in the film, and it's definitely what you would call kind of an artsy kind of film.
Yeah.
Almost like an A24 movie, but at the same time, this also felt like kind of a parody of an A24 movie, which I thought was really interesting.
Absolutely. I thought it was A24. It wasn't. It absolutely was, because every shot is deliberate, and unlike those more vague, suspenseful movies where they don't tell you much, this one told you everything. And it explained a lot in the main guy, Julian's dialogue, which was really great. Yeah. And I'm rooting for Margot.
Oh yeah, Margot is great. I kind of consider the film Midsummer if Midsummer were an episode of Hell's Kitchen. That's kind of how the movie feels.
Yes, that's so good, because it's true.
Something that's actually interesting, because it's like, you know, it says like elite, you know, or aristocrat or whatever, but they're actually kind of like pseudo financial elite.
Yeah.
If you actually looked at it, because one of the groups of the dudes, they're stealing to get their fund. Like, it's not like an old money or an invested money. It's one, like, every one of their positions is fragile. Like the what's the call lady, the
food critic.
Yeah, she has to step on other people to get up. Maybe the only people there that didn't have a like fragile position were the two old people, the couple, and because they're there so much, right? So it's nothing to them, but all the rest of them, they like, even the movie star, his shit is, you know, that shit is on rocks for him, you know, like so that's
an interesting observation.
In a way, he might view them as betraying the service class to get into you know, the so-called elite class, which in a way is kind of what he did, but he maybe thinks of himself as like a rogue dude, or he went rogue after seeing it's nothing there.
Yeah, that's a good analysis of it. The film definitely touches on themes of class and sort of this, like, the rich versus the poor. Mm-hmm. But what I think is interesting is the main antagonist, Julian Slowik. It seems like he's doing this to sort of punish the upper classes for, like, exploiting the lower classes. Yes. But at the same time, if you look at his character, he's just as classist and just as elitist as these people that he seems to be punishing in the film.
Exactly. He used those people to get up there. He's a talented chef, right? He came from humble roots, and now he worked his way up. It's not easy. Sometimes you do what you have to do. But then the joy and all that fun out of his job, even though he was making less money, he lost that fun, that zest, and now he's making all these overly thought out experiences for people, and he has no joy in it. So it's almost right, the sick punishment, but that is his main audience. Those are the people that kind of got him there. So he's just resentful, and he's upset at what he had to do, I think.
I definitely see that. I don't know if he's necessarily too much resentful, maybe a little bit mad at himself, but also a lot of times, and he kept like, especially when he was talking to Margot, right, he was like, tell the truth, right, when she was all like, oh, like, when she was, kind of like talking to him in the thing, and he was like, tell the truth, like, and he kept wanting people to be honest, and I guess everyone there was at a lower position where they liked what they were doing, and then they projected themselves off to this thing and gave up all their life, and now they're pretending like they like their position. Every chef in there is pretending like, they wanted to be top chef dude, right? And they got there, and then it sucks because there's no joy in it, but they don't admit that there's no joy in it, right? And then all the other people that are, the super richy people, they're getting there, and they're all rich and they can get whatever they want, but they're not admitting that they have no joy in it.
The workers or the everybody?
Every one of them.
Oh,
every
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
The workers, the people, the customers, all of them. Mm-hmm. They're not admitting that they don't actually enjoy any of that stuff. So what he's kind of doing, he keeps urging them. It's like, here's more crap, say you don't like it, but they never fucking say that they don't like it. They just keep appeasing him, and Margot's the only one that finally said, I don't like this, because he was like, be truthful, and she was the only one that was like, truthful, like, this sucks, No one else.
A few people asked for bread, but nobody clearly said
But he was a douchebag when he asked for bread, so, it's like, that's different.
He had it coming, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, that dude Soren? That guy's an asshole. I don't like him.
Yeah, the one who's like, I hate to pull this card, but do you even know who we are? Oh, God. Get that red pill out of here.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting how, with Julian, like, it seems like he's also kind of punishing himself, too, because at one point, he has the one chef who works for him, like, admits to the people they're holding prisoner, like, Julian tried to fuck me, like, he's letting her reveal that he basically sexually harassed her, and it's sort of like he's kind of punishing himself for being a toxic male, and like this is almost like his penance in a way for what he did. Like, he feels really terrible about the kind of person he became, and now he's almost doing this as a way to like, kind of punish himself.
Absolutely, atone for his sins. He doesn't like the life he led. It sucked out the joy, and now he's that's why I would say he was a little bit like, what was the word I used before? He's resentful with his, he got himself there, but he's resentful with his position in life, and as well as the people that buy into his bullshit. And so I think it is like his atonement for where he got in life, and everybody going along with it, they wanted that experience. It's very religious, like what you were saying.
That's why I think he's taking the savior point, but also the sacrifice, because he's giving them all the option now and the opportunity to atone for their bullshit, right? Because they all did really shitty things.
Sure. If
they got to that position where they can eat on a fucking, what was it, like 1,000 something for a fucking plate, right?
A person,
there we go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, so they all got there, but none of them are admitting or atoning, right? Like, he let the person stab him in the leg and said, I'm sorry. Who else, in the thing said they're sorry, right? Like,
it was mainly Julian. So said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I think he is like,
that's his whole design. That's the culmination of his life. He dragged his mother into it with his trauma and the things he couldn't let go, and it was really, he's like, fine, I'm this big name guy, you guys are all here, it's gonna be my show, and it's gonna be my atonement, and you're also gonna partake in my menu.
But at the same time, while the movie almost plays out like we should be almost rooting for him, we have to remember that he basically brainwashed all the chefs under him. At the same time, it's almost done where they kind of want this in the end, but at the same time, I think it's also kind of brainwashing.
It is, absolutely, too.
Because it's basically a cult. Like, he basically runs his kitchen like a cult.
The cults, everyone in the cult knows it's bullshit. They all know it's bullshit, but they play into it because they want the desire. Like, they want it, because the cult lets you just give. And like you get to play in like all the shit, right, and all the bad, and so
that's what they were saying with you can either you're a giver or you're a taker.
And he's, it's the whole movie I saw is a chain of like giving people the thing they want, right? Like he gave the girl the sorry, right? He's giving all the people the thing they want, and so many. If you think about like, for example, when Margot. It reveals, like, she talks about her experience with the older man, right? Before he got his finger cut off.
Yes.
All he wanted was, in a way, like, he paid for the sexual experience, but he wanted...
a daughter. He
wanted a daughter that said he's a good father.
Oof.
Right? So she gave him...
But she also gave him a hand job.
Yes.
She didn't. He jerked himself off. She watched. He did the most, like... revealing vulnerable thing, and for her, he in a way, it's like for her to say like you're a good dad, I love you, blah blah blah, is her accepting him at his most disgusting point, right? But it's like for them, this was like them going to confession, but he made them. But also, if they're at the highest point, they're not going to go to confession because it's like you got all this money, you don't want to lose face, right? So he sets up this experience.
Yeah, and calls everybody out on their personal vendettas. He's like Jigsaw, where he's got like he sees everybody's drama, and he takes it personally because it enrages him.
I mean, he let that guy, like the first dude that what was it? It's not, his name wasn't Tyler, right?
Oh no, Jeremy was the character's name.
Okay, so with Jeremy, like he was talking with Jeremy, and it's like Jeremy wanted to get to that thing, to be that point, to get that life, right? And then he gets there, and he's like, "Do you like it?" And he's like, "No." So, and like, it's fucked up way of doing it, but he gave Jeremy an out, right?
Wow.
Like he gave him an out, but then at the same time, Jeremy had an audience.
It's such a middle of the road movie in that sense, where, like you said, people have been brainwashed by this person. And yet they're buying into it because they wanted that lifestyle. They wanted to be under this prestigious guy who doesn't even like his life. He doesn't even like his job anymore. And there's so many cool themes to play with, and seeing more religious elements is just
But I also think the movie's a great, like, satire on the whole idea of, like, competitive culture. Where in schools we're constantly taught to, like, oh, when you get out there into the field, you have to be competitive, you have to be as successful as possible, and went to school for radio and television, and it was basically that mentality, like, you're married to your work, you have no life outside of your work, and that's one of the reasons I decided I didn't want to go into that field, so,
Good for you. Right, it's that hustle culture. It's everybody's going to be competitive. You have to climb to get, the better paying job or to be known. And it's like, yes, those are opportunities. And like that character that had to step on all these other people, her reviews were so notorious and closed all these businesses that the girl, one of the chef underlings, was like, a while ago that comment you made would have meant a lot to me. And it did. It still impacted her.
It does play with like desire, right? And the whole thing, it's like if they are playing with the psychoanalysis thing, desire happens from like a distance, right? Like I can't desire water if I have water and I'm not thirsty, right? Like, but I desire water when I'm thirsty, right? Or like I desire the big house when I'm living in a doghouse, right? Or like I desire friends when I'm lonely, right? But he was saying that he hasn't, I think there was an exact line that he hasn't desired in a long time.
Julian.
Yeah, right? Like, the desire is gone because he got to the point. He got the Holy Grail, right?
Right.
So
what's the ambition after that?
And all those people there, they all got there. So they're now just playing. It's really, like, they're just kind of doing fetish stuff. There's no reason for them to do any of this or, critique the food. They already got it. They got the highest thing. They don't need to flaunt it anymore. So it's just fetish and pleasure at that point. But
the meticulous pains they take in all this food and the crafting of it, and Margot saw right through that.
Yeah, and it's a circle, right? It's a circle of like just needless ritual. But the thing that happens, he said something specific that like when Margot said something to him, he was like, you wounded me. right? And that's like, let's fucking bring him in, Bataille, right? And he's like, the wound, if something is a stable structure.
You know, it's funny. Every review you've done for me, I don't think there's a single one where you didn't invoke Bataille.
He's here, right here, and
He's always here.
he's got a shitty French smile and a boner, and that's Bataille. but yeah, so like it's a circle structure, right? Like everything that's like it's a feedback loop. Life is a structure. Thing that's on the outside or the difference comes in and ruptures the thing, right? Like experience is a rupture in the normal or the norm. She was a rupture for him and finally let him. The wound is where you're open and you're vulnerable and you can finally get out of the closed thing. She did that for him by showing him that he has a lack, right? Like the whole thing of psychoanalysis is we desire because we have a lack, right? Or a thing that we think we lack, be it the phallus or the this or the that, the power structure, the thing that we need to get to make us complete because that's the empty part in us, right? When he's there, he's perfect. He doesn't have a lack anymore. He even said, we have everything. When he was like, what do you want, right? We have everything.
Right, what ingredients, yes.
She showed him lack. She said, you failed. And she was like, the food wasn't like good, right? But yeah, she
was still hungry.
Yeah, right? So there goes, right? Lack. So the food wasn't good. And then her being hungry also showed that like, being hungry means you have room to desire. So it's showing him failure. No one ever gave him failure because they all fucking appease him. Serve him a rock and they're like, right?
Right.
It's like, no, say it's fucking bad so then I can desire to do better. She let him desire. She gave him the opening to desire by wounding him.
Jason, I seem to remember when we were watching the movie, you brought up a comparison between how these people are looking at food and the art world.
What, that's all bullshit and just making shit up?
I mean, that too, but because I know you work in kind of that field. It's just interesting that you brought up almost a comparison between these people, these chefs, and like artists and like how the whole art world works.
I mean, even definitely with that, it's like, you know, people buying paintings at these like dumb ass fucking prices and all this shit, like, you know, if it's like trading money or investing or whatever the fuck they think. And the people buying these things, they don't care about the work. They see it as an investment, right? Like, and that's what it is. And then after that, the artists, you know, that put on all this thing to, you know, get to this point that they were told they had to get to from fucking schools and universities and societies and all this shit, right? It's like, oh, go get the fucking goal, man, as opposed to just doing it the way you like it.
Right.
Now they're in this point where they made it to this point and they have to keep going to keep appeasing and to keep up, you know, they raise the stakes a new level. They have to keep paying for the golden house.
Because it creates yearning if you don't have that need or yearn.
Yeah, no, they're losing their yearning. As soon as they start working to appease the customer, they've lost what made them do it in the first place.
Yes.
And now that they're selling, you know, how many artists are selling things to like some fucking collector that doesn't even give a shit about you, your process or whatever. They just know that you're a hot name and it may be worth something, right? As opposed to the motherfucker that looked at your painting for 3 minutes and started to cry, right? But they can't afford it. Right? So it's like that's like,
it's a business and it's cyclical.
Yeah. So that's why, like, fuck New York City, because that's where that's the whole of that art scene. That's what it does.
Before we continue on, I just want to cut to my friend Christian Feliciano giving his thoughts on the menu.
I love the menu because it is a commentary on foodie culture. And if you're into foodie culture, if you're into, you know, going to a restaurant and spending $1,500 on a meal that's smaller than my palm, or if it's a big meal and you're spending $1,500, whatever, God bless you. But for me personally, I never understood that lifestyle. Like, I think even if I was a billionaire, even if I was a millionaire, or just in a position where I had a lot of money, you know, maybe not $1 million, but I just had enough money to do that, I wouldn't do it. Like, I prefer to just eat, you know, at a barbecue or just cook my own food. Just buy a steak and cook it. I mean, that's it. I don't believe in this extremely expensive food stuff. Like, I don't think the quality of the food is better just because it costs more. I've been to very, very low budget places, and their food is beyond amazing. Like, it's so good. Like, I've been to a Puerto Rican restaurant, and it's just fantastic. I love it. I've been to a Mexican restaurant, and it's fantastic. I love the food. Tacos were amazing. So I don't understand why people think that money, or these people think that more money means better quality or better food. I just don't understand it. And I like that this movie comments on that and says that, it's just a weird culture. It's a weird subculture, and it takes a very dark take on it though, because it is this movie is a horror film, but I would actually call it dark comedy just because there are funny things in it. Like, I found a lot of it funny. I don't know if other people do. Maybe I'm just a twisted human being. I don't know. But I found this movie to be pretty funny. It is dark. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I found it funny, And the acting in it is fantastic. We have Ralph Fiennes. We have Anya Taylor-Joy. We have Nicholas Hoult, I believe the guy's name is. And other people. I mean, it's just great actors everywhere. Ralph Fiennes is, of course, one of my favorite actors ever. I can't remember a time where he wasn't a villain. And I don't even know if I'm spoiling it because I don't remember the trailer for this film. But obviously, he's the villain of the story, Ralph Fiennes. I mean, if you just watch a movie and Ralph Fiennes is in it, odds are he's going to be the villain of the story. You just know that. I mean, his greatest role is Voldemort. And once you played Voldemort, a despicable creature like he was, at that point, you're just like, yeah, this person might actually be evil in real life. I don't think so, but, I just get this feeling that, this really weird idea that if I meet Ralph Fiennes, would he try to kill me? I would hope not. I'm just, but that's how good of a villain he is. He always plays great villains. He's so believable as an actor. He's just fantastic. Anya Taylor-Joy is just fantastic. She can do anything. I've seen her be an innocent person, an innocent, helpless victim. I've seen her be evil. I've seen her be, she's just so good at anything she's done. She's just really good. And I really like her. Everybody in this film is just fantastic. The story is great. The commentary is, it's in your face, but it's not annoying. It's actually funny because you actually, if you know about what they're talking about, you're like, yeah, okay, you find it funny. You do find some of the stuff funny, or you kind of understand it. Now, going back to Ralph Fiennes, I've heard people say that he's actually the hero of this story. I'm not gonna say that because anybody who's sick like that, I'm not gonna make the hero of the story. But I can see why they say that because some of the characters are annoying, just on how they are and how they act in this subculture. And they do play all the stereotypes. The guy who takes pictures of his food, all that stuff. And so they some people believe that he is actually the hero trying to take these people out. I don't know. I don't think so. Like I said, I don't subscribe to that. I don't think just because of how people act, you should be going around killing them. But, whatever. That's what people think. Still, an amazing movie. I love it. I think that this is one of the best movies to come out in the past few years. I forgot exactly when it came out, but it was just great. I love this film. Writing is fantastic. Everything about it was just great. And yeah, that's my review. And thank you for listening. And bye.
That whole thing at the end where she asks for a cheeseburger and she kind of criticizes him for making every dish, every course, some weird intellectual exercise. I almost feel like that was kind of the movie commentating on itself, because
100%.
As much as I'm somebody who I love looking for deeper themes in films, and I do think there are deeper themes in the film, I also kind of feel like that scene was kind of the filmmaker saying, don't take it too seriously, guys. This is just a cheeseburger.
You were telling me that later on.
Right.
Yeah. I remember we were outside and I was coming up with different theories after watching, Liam was there and everything, and it's it may just be the movie thing, but that's also the thing with art stuff. How many artists, and I've even talked to motherfuckers, and they make something and then they're like, I need to come up with some whatever meaning to sell it to somebody, right? So all the the theorizing and shit, theories and the ideas and the connection, that's made by the people that write about the stuff, not the artists themselves. The artist is I used this because it was a pretty color, and then everyone else is this is symbolic because this and
Theses and all the intellectual papers about that is looking for meaning.
It reminds me a little bit of like, okay, so one of my favorite filmmakers is David Cronenberg, and I do think there's definitely deeper themes in his movies, but at the same time, I remember hearing that he said, listen, you guys have any idea how hard it is to actually make a movie? I have no idea to think of a theme. Like, I feel like the themes are almost more accidental in Cronenberg's work.
The themes are things people look in, like how you look back on your life, and themes happen just like by happenstance. Like, oh shit, this was really prevalent in my life.
Another example of that is like George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Like, a lot of people look at the original Night of the Living Dead as basically a commentary on the
race.
60s in general, and race, but I think George Romero admitted later on a lot of that was more accidental. Like, but then he kind of. But then again, when you watch the sequels to Night of the Living Dead, like Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, it's clear he went into that with a theme in mind.
So he let the audience, like, after a thing is out, the audience changes it. And so, you know, it's not a bad thing, it's just how it does. Like, meaning is made usually in retrospect, right? Once you can see it. But then the product is, it's like how we were talking about music things. Like, somebody comes out with an album and it's like this raw fucking thing. It's like, how did you do this? Then they get acclaim from it. People start giving comments, blah blah blah. Then their second release is like they're trying to prove the character to they're trying to sell the character to people when the people already bought into the character. Right? It's like they start to believe. And like, first they were just smelling their own shit and it was fine, but like then they're like, now they're believing in the smell, and that is the menu. I mean, like, he let a lot of influence get too much to him, but I see your point, because certain people are just winging it, doing their own thing, experimenting. Oh, this was so real and authentic, and then you get all this praise and notoriety. That's a good thing, you're on the map now. But also comes a lot of opinion, and you lose yourself sometimes. Story of my life. And so sometimes we have to get back to center, and that's what Margot did for him at the very end. But he could have let everybody go, but he didn't, because that was like the culmination of his life's work. Well, like, I finally found pleasure again. If he let everybody go, then that he would have let down the other chef lady whose idea was it for everyone to die, right? Did it matter that much to him, your opinion? Well, yeah, he did all that for, like, he's there to give them what they want.
I said the whole penance thing. I think he felt guilty about, like, trying to pressure her into sex before, and he wanted some way for her to forgive him, and, like, you know, so he was doing a lot of that for her, and I think, honestly, it's implied that he's definitely abusive to the chefs under him, and I think this is his way of apologizing, like, I'm gonna let you kill me, basically, and I kill you. We kill each other.
That plays on the BDSM and the sadomasochistic, and even like fucking Sod, right? Like, I mean, it really does play with like Sod completely. Even like in the book, you know, it's like this whole thing of like, you know, it's showing like how far like you can go with like libertinage, right? Like just fucking free for, you know, the how far you can go with the absolute freedom to do what you want. But then what you see with what Sod was doing, like, it's just a list of shit, but every one of these people, it had to be a very specific way for them to get to their point of pleasure, right? Like, it wasn't just like, I'm gonna fucking do something dirty. It's like, this person has to have 3 moles on their left hand, they have to be this age, this has to happen at this time at night, and this thing, the blinds have to be this color, blah 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 buckets, it has to be this thing, related to this, and that's every fucking line that in every event that they give in, like, fucking 120 Days of Sodom. It's this crafted thing. So once people get to the absolute thing of freedom, they actually want to get back to the point where they can submit, because they're out of the realm of order, and they want order, because you need order to be able to transgress. And how does this relate back to the menu? The menu? Yeah. Everything is over intellectual bullshit. It's all ordered, it's uniform, it's structure, there's signed to secrecy, it's closed, nobody else knows what they're doing, there's no it's out of the world, so it's literally out of the world of work and in the realm of the sacred, where there's no contact or anything, and they're just like feeding on their pleasures. If they were hungry, they wouldn't eat that shit, they would just want food, right? Like, I think Simone Weil said, it's like, she was like if you're thirsty, all you can think about is water. Yeah. Like, you're not gonna care about, I want soda, I want boba is like, no, nigga, like, give me something to drink. I need this right now.
Yeah, anything will do at that point, but you're not thinking of, like, beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly.
If you're in need, you need it.
So they're just using food as pleasure. Like, it's an exercise in pleasure. It's like, how can I get rid of this excess in this weird way, right? Like, we want to get rid of the extra, so we're always trying to find weird ways that we can get rid of it, and they're at such this point of crazy, like, experience that they can get whatever they want, that they need to, like, do it in any way, which is nearly fucking dying. But then the other girl's like, nah, you're gonna die, and they're like, yes, please.
Literally, yeah. Thank you. Like,
I also loved how the ending basically pointed out how disgusting s'mores actually are.
yes. Yeah, he's like, it's cheap shit or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
s'mores are the most overrated food on the planet. Like,
yeah, you and I are both s'mores deniers.
Look, I like roasted marshmallows, and I like chocolate on its own.
Yes.
But there's something about s'mores that never appealed to me, and I always felt like people were brainwashed into thinking that they have to do s'mores whenever they go camping. Margot, the protagonist of the film, what did we think of her?
I mean, it did play with the idea that she's his daughter. Or like a stand-in's daughter figure. Maybe
maybe a stand-in, but I definitely didn't think she was literally his daughter.
I thought it after the first watch, but I think symbolic daughter-wise, right?
Yeah. Because it's interesting, they do point out, there's the picture of him with a family, showing that he has a family or had a family.
Yeah, but I think he gave it up for the job.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's kind of like what all those people did.
But I also like that the main character, Margot, is a sex worker, because you don't usually see that in mainstream movies, a sex worker as your lead protagonist, and I like how the movie doesn't really judge her profession or, like, look down upon it.
I liked Margot. I like that she spoke up. I like that she told the truth. I like that she wasn't afraid, because she didn't have any attachment, unlike Tyler, who was a fanboy, and as being a fanboy in my earlier years, I've been there. Like, you get really obsessed, or you get, like, you really know all about it and you want to be a part of it so bad, but then Margot didn't have any attachment. She felt like a fish out of water. She wasn't connected. She's like, are you just okay with me not being, like, comfortable here? And he wasn't. Clearly he was here for the experience, but she was just a stand-in, so she was no one important to him. And then when push came to shove, I like that Tyler got knocked down a few pegs. That was really funny. That was one of our favorite moments in the film.
Oh, Tyler's bullshit. I outright laughed out loud when I first saw this in the theaters.
Yeah, that was very funny. I feel like we were the only ones that was laughing. But then again, we were laughing at other points in the movie too, I think, so.
Yeah, if they say Tyler's bullshit that obviously, it's like the movie is balancing both comedy and horror.
He did a good job at it.
I agree. I like that it wasn't just a slasher, and I actually cared, and all the dialogue was deliberate. Like, they all had their own separate side stories going on. They didn't have to do that, but that's what old movies did. Like, they gave them deliberate dialogue where you had to pay attention. And there's things in the beginning that we missed. So, like, you felt invested in each one's story, even if you didn't like everybody, and that's okay. You're not going to like everybody, and that's a good lesson for me, who sometimes tries to see the best in everybody. But there were some schmucks that came here
I think most
to the
of
menu.
People, they were completely unlikable.
But I definitely think the chef was, he got himself into this position, you know? But also and then he takes it out on the people that bought into his shtick. He went along with the shtick, too.
He did. I think the whole thing's like, you know, he probably got there and realized he didn't like it, right?
Yeah.
And then also he was talking about, like, the pressers and stuff. He did not own that place.
The Hawthorne?
Yeah, it was owned by the investors of those three shitty guys. So those guys were the ones that were bankrolling him. The dude that was bankrolling the place, he didn't even care about his food. Like, he asked him about different things and substitutions and stuff. And then he was like...
Was he supposed to? Because it's 1,000 a head, and you get no bread, and you get little dots of sauce.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the investor that they drowned.
Oh, my bad.
That's who actually owns the place, right?
Oh, I thought it was the 3 credit card guys. No.
Yeah, no, they just work for that guy.
Oh,
they work for the guy that was drowned. So it's like, he has all this shit, but even he has someone lording over him. Yeah. So what the think the movie is also doing, and again, doesn't mean it's bad or good. Everyone in this thing is getting rid of the thing that was lording over them, right? Or getting out of the thing that was lording over him. He's like, because he said silence is freedom, right? Like the yelling, the nagging of the overhead of you didn't do it right or do it this way, or the outside critique that we take inside, which is the ego thing, which he says he does everything egoless, right? And he said that's without pain, which is without the personal critique, right? That happens from the outside critique, but he got rid of that with the angel dude. He drowned him, right? So then now he's free, so he can now free everyone else with the fire of purity, or the letting them silence their oppressor, right? Like, so the girl, she stabbed him, right?
Yes.
And he stood there and he
took it,
right? So it's not good. It doesn't dismiss the shit he did or is going to do or does, but it was like trading off, getting rid of the thing that oppresses you. Like, Margot freed him from the tyranny of being perfect and serving intellectual bullshit by like releasing him from it, right? Like silencing everyone else, or literally silencing him. He didn't have to do anything. She gave orders, right? Like, so it's a real weird submissive thing. Like, he's the one always giving orders, and he's like, and she gave him an order now, so he finally got to like serve, you know? Or it could just be a straightforward movie and the dude's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
There is that, because I mean, he did say someone's gonna die because they were able to pay for college.
Yeah, right? No student loans, you're in. Nice.
Yo, I mean, he's punishing the actor guy simply for being in a bad movie.
Yeah, that was shit.
He ruined his Sunday off. Look.
Yeah, his first one off in 5 months. How dare you?
Oh, shit.
No, but that's what I love about the movies. You could intellectually analyze it if you wanted to, or you could just look at that ending with the cheeseburger and be like, maybe this is just meant to be enjoyed as a movie and not meant to be analyzed completely.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a right or wrong, honestly.
Yeah,
that's
they were
like
talking about that. Yeah, everything is so methodical and so pretentious, and
but it's also like meaningless, right? In that in that way, it's like this
like
weird...
a review. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I
agree. we are like, yeah, but like, what's actually the point of a review? But that's why it's fun, because it's useless, right?
Yeah.
Like,
we're looking for a need.
So, and we know that it's just a movie, right? We know that we literally just saw light on a screen flashing. We hallucinated this entire time, and now we're gonna talk about the hallucination and make meaning out of it.
Yes.
If we're being fucking honest.
Yeah, but but otherwise, what would we do?
What did we think of Colin Stetson, I think is the composer's name, the score for the film?
Hereditary vibe.
He did the score for Hereditary.
Yes.
It's like, felt subtle. It wasn't distracting, right? Like, it fit.
Well, okay. Any closing thoughts on the menu?
I would love a cheeseburger.
Yeah, a burger would be very nice.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll go out for a cheeseburger when this is over.
I would love that. No, the movie was really good. It's worth a watch, whether it's intellectual themes or just taking it at face value. I think it's definitely something special.
And that's like, I think that really is it, though. Like, the whole thing of the code or the symbol or whatever, it gets you in with the aesthetic and the language, but inherently it's empty. So, because it's empty, everyone gets to put their own meaning on it.
So yeah, that was our review of 2022's The Menu. I hope you enjoyed it, and bye.